Hi, my name is Gerhard Schwanter and welcome to Selling Power's Daily Report. Today we have the pleasure of meeting with Seth Godin. He's the #1 marketing guru in the United States and overseas. And he's also the author of a wonderful new book called The Dip. Can you tell us what the book is all about?
Well, first, truth in advertising, I'm not #1 at anything except maybe showing up on time. But it was a very nice thing for you to say. The Dip's about quitting. No one's ever written a book about quitting before. And there's a reason. And the reason is because quitting feels wrong. And Vince Lombardi told us winners never quit and quitters never win. And all the time growing up, your teachers and your coaches and your parents, they're telling you, stick with it, don't quit. And it's just bad advice. And so what I did in 79 or 85 pages, little pages, is I laid out the argument for why quitting is actually an excellent strategy if you do it the right way.
So the dip is just before the rise comes, right?
Well, here's what happens. In almost any area of endeavor, only a tiny percentage can win, right? Only one person can win the race. Only 3 companies can be the biggest 3 companies in their industry. Only one search engine can be the one that people choose to go to. So what happens when you set out to do almost anything is there's excitement and energy and enthusiasm at the beginning. At the beginning, people will try you because you're new. And then, inevitably, the dip hits. The dip is the screen, the filter, the thing that separates the triers from the winners. The dip is organic chemistry. If you set out to be a doctor, first you're pre-med. And the thing that happens in the middle of pre-med is you have to take organic chemistry. Organic chemistry is the course that separates everybody from the people who get into med school. And that's good news. The dip is actually a good thing, because if it weren't for organic chemistry, everyone would be a doctor. And if everyone would be a doctor, it wouldn't be worth anything.
It's an organic selection process.
Exactly. And so as a salesperson, there's all this hazing that goes on when you call on IBM, or all these problems that you go on when you're trying to get a great job at Xerox, or all these things you have to do that separate the insiders from the outsiders. Now, as a salesperson my whole life, I've cursed out those moments, because you say, if I could just have that connection to that person, if I could just be in that RFP list, if I could just be on the short list, then I'd be fine. But in fact, the dip is your friend, because once you get through it, once you get to the other side, that's where the profits come from.
So what are some of the anti-dip strategies that you recommend? Is this a mindset or is this a skill set?
Great question. It's both. We start by understanding that you have a limited number of resources to spend. Your company has a limited number of resources. You have a limited number of calls you can go on. So, if you're a real estate broker and you take every listing that comes in on the phone and you show everybody who shows up, you're going to be very busy. But you're going to be dissipating your energy across a huge range of types of properties, types of people, types of accounts. And that dissipation means that someone who's right next to you, who's obsessed, who's focused, will always beat you. And so, strategy-wise, we start by saying, see where the dip is. Look who's come before you. What did they do that got them from where you are to where you want to be? And number 2, understand that the way they got there was by quitting everything else. That the people who are really good at X are the ones who don't necessarily play golf, don't necessarily race cars on the weekends, don't necessarily spend a lot of time at home with their kids, don't necessarily, spend time on airplanes. Whatever it is, they've focused something because they quit the other stuff. And so the lesson of the dip, the biggest part of the lesson is this. You can get through the dip if the dip is the right size. No, you can't get elected president of the United States anymore. It's too late. But there are most dips you could get through. And each dip has a cost that goes with it. And what you have to ask yourself before you start is it worth it? Am I willing to pay the price and focus to get through that dip? Because if I'm not, I shouldn't even bother starting. That the worst thing in the whole world to do, guaranteed the worst thing, is to quit in the dip. Because if you quit during organic chemistry, what you've done is you've wasted all those years that it took you to get to this far. But you're getting none of the benefits at the other end. So smart people, winners, either quit at the beginning or they don't quit till the end, but they never quit in the dip.
Well, thank you, Seth. Those are all very, very interesting thoughts, and we're going to continue our conversation with Seth Godin, where we talk about the mindset that it takes to get through the dip. Tune in tomorrow.